Stop recording video button.
If anyone in this family...
Swipe up or down to select the custom action. Then double tap to activate. Stop recording video button.
If anybody in this entire family, be it immediate or extended, any companies such as Amazon, Tesco Mobile, Patient Transport, any organisations...
0 people.
Such as Manchester Eye Hospital, Chorley Hospital, Preston Hospital, the dentist, the doctors. If any of them discriminate against my blindness or my gender identity, then they will be done for either disability hate crimes or transphobic hate crimes. Because to misgender somebody in the UK now is illegal.
0 people.
Under the Gender Reassignment and Gender Recognition Act and under the Equality Act 2010, if a person is discriminated against because of their blindness, there can be charges and prison sentences for it. Also, likewise, if somebody is discriminated against because of their gender identity, there is prison sentences, fines for it, community service, or court costs they have to pay.
0 people.
Being trans, for me, is not a choice. Gender dysphoria is an illness. I don't care what people say, but gender dysphoria is an illness. And when it's corrected, and when I feel happier with my own identity, people must stop discrimination. Because it's wrong. It's invalid. It invalidates my identity. It's degrading. It's
0 people.
It's disrespectful. It's aggravating. And it's an act of transphobia. This message is a warning to family, companies, healthcare organisations that if they don't use the they-them pronouns when talking about me, I have the right to then go to Disability Equality Network Northwest and report them for transphobic or disability hate crimes.
0 people.
My family don't discriminate against my disability, but they do against my identity because they say things like, you can't wear men's clothes because your hips are too big. You can't wear men's clothes because your breasts are too big. You will always be female when till you transition. All these facts that they're stating are incorrect. They are discriminatory comments. And these discriminatory
0
comments
people.
are adding to my emotional, physical, mental, body, psychological and gender dysphoria. And I feel dysphoric as it is because I've got to wait to go on hormones. And I've got to wait to see a gender identity specialist and therapist and all that. So why have my family, companies, organisations and healthcare sectors got the right to abuse, to
0
torture,
people.
to discriminate and to degrade my gender identity? Another issue is toilets. My mum and my sister basically said to me that if they take me into a male toilet because they can physically see, they can get done for sexual harassment. But by saying that, they're not thinking of my body dysphoria, my level of discomfort surrounding my identity, and my inadequacy about my
0
identity.
people.
Because I do not identify 100%, I 100% do not identify as feminine at all. I was born transgender, but I hid it for 22 years because I didn't want to cause friction between the family. If my family don't want to believe that I was born transgender, that's their choice. I've always wanted to be a different sex because being feminine, you've got the risk of being abused.
0 people.
The risk of being tormented. The risk of being worsened mental health. Yes, I do have mental health conditions. That doesn't make me feminine. Yes, I was abused. Ritually, financially, mentally, physically, emotionally, verbally, and sexually abused. That does not make me feminine because I was abused. Yes, I was abused by a psychopath. That does not make me feminine.
0 people.
People need to realise that especially healthcare sectors, that F marker needs to be removed from their systems when asking me to go for screenings. The way they should word smear test advertising is people with cervixes are more prone to cervical cancer, not women with cervixes. Because not all people who have cervixes are women.
0 people.
And not all women have cervixes. The language surrounding these screenings is totally biased against women. Trans people who have cervixes must be screened, not discriminated against. And I feel like my whole family, my GP, everywhere I go in the healthcare sector and everywhere I go in society are blatantly viewing me as feminine when I'm not. Yes, I have breasts.
0 people.
But having breasts does not make you feminine. I am a non-binary transgender male. And this is what people don't understand. I am frustrated with the constant misgendering, the constant discriminatory remarks about my identity, the constant fashionable decisions that people make about my identity, i.e. taking me down the women's aisle for shopping. Like I said to my mum the other day, I said it's hard shopping when you're non-binary, when you don't get the choice of which identity clothes to wear, so you don't know if you're going to feel comfortable. I can't even wear men's shoes. You know what I mean? It aggravates me because all I want is to feel comfortable, accepted, safe, loved and validated for what I am as well as who I am. I am a multiple personified, non-binary, transgender, masculine person. And this is what people who are not trans, i.e. cisgendered, do not accept my identity. And if my grandmother was still alive, she would discriminate against my identity and say I don't want that thing in my house because she's never seen a trans person since the later 2000s, because she's never researched or done anything about identities. She never saw a coloured man until after the war. But my nana was very set in her own ways because she was born in the 1920s, which I absolutely get. But my mum, my sister, my auntie, my cousins, my aunties on my stepdad's side, my stepdad, everybody else I know, have no right to deceased name me, to misgender me, and to cause me intense body dysphoria by taking me to the wrong toilets. And I feel that they're doing this because they will get done for sexual harassment. But sexual harassment is there. Yes, I get that. But why can't they take me into a male toilet where I would feel like I belong because of my identity? Going back to the deceased naming, immediate family don't do it anymore, but extended family are the worst for it. My mum was talking to my cousin Diane the other day, and she said she's changed her name now. She's decided she's transgender. But that invalidation worsened my dysphoria. What she should have said is, Misha has legally changed their name now because they identify as transgender. No one decides to be transgender. No one wishes they were transgender. It's in their genetics, it's in their makeup, it's in their expression of identity. People don't realise, especially in society or in my family or healthcare settings, that gender is not based on biological characteristics only. Gender is based on the individual trans person's expression of their identity, their mannerisms, their ways of dealing with stress, their fashion sense, their expression of their identity, their vocal expression of their identity, their physical appearance because of their identity. And when I transition, I don't want people, therefore, discriminating against me and saying I look too masculine, because that's a joke. I want to be more fucking masculine than feminine. I don't want people saying that I look too masculine, because that's just beyond a joke. That is discrimination. How can somebody who's trans look too masculine or too feminine? It's their inside and outside expression of their identity that matters, not looks, not appearance, not characteristics, not hormonal changes, not biological characteristics such as the genitals or the breasts. I mean, if mum wants to treat me like I'm masculine, she could turn around and say that I've got gynecomastia, which is large male breast tissue. Because basically, in effect, that's what I have, because I identify as a non-binary transgender male. But people who don't understand that piss me off, because they automatically use the S or the H word and think that I'm feminine when I'm not. I am transgender. I identify as non-binary. Therefore, my pronouns are they, them, and theirs. Not she, her, hers. That's in the past, because even though I was born female, I did not identify as that from day one. I've always said to my mum, I want to be the son that you cannot carry. That's one reason why I'm transitioning, because I want her to grow up to have a son rather than a daughter, because she's always wanted a son. But because of her genetics, because she miscarried a boy, I want to give her that son that she could never carry. So in a way, I'm doing something nice to her by being reborn as a male. But people throw it back in my face. Every time I mention my identity, people throw it back in my face. And this is what's making me feel more dysphoric, because I can't go into a health setting and have them not misgender me. Because the more misgendered that I get, the more dysphoric about my body I am, the more dysphoric about my voice I am, the more dysphoric about my face and my characteristics I feel. They don't understand how dysphoric the identity discrimination, misgendering, or judgment about my identity is making me feel. Because to be misgendered, it feels like someone's calling me it all the time, and they're not using any pronouns. And it feels like that they either don't want to know, they're not interested, or they don't want to validate my identity. This is why I'm going on hormones sometime late this year or early next year, because I want the physical characteristics of a male, because I want people to say to me, you look handsome, because pretty is a feminine word. And I'm sick of people telling me that I look pretty because I'm not a female. This is why I express to them, do not use my deceased name, and do not use my deceased pronouns.
When the travel. Stop recording video.
Because by using my deceased name and my
Swipe up or down to select the custom action. Then double tap to activate.
by using my deceased name and my deceased pronouns, it physically, bodily, emotionally, psychologically, and in other ways, it affects me. Because I physically cannot cope when my mum says, Misha's been suffering with this, she's had it for a long time. What it should be is, Misha's been suffering with this, they have been suffering with this for a long time because of their condition. Yeah, mum uses HIR, which is a gender-neutral pronoun, but I want her to use non-binary pronouns, and she said it's hard to reflect and change the habit of a lifetime, but that's no fucking excuse. Parents of transgender children need to accept, identify them as their correct pronouns, love them for what they are, and respect their identities. Because Mum's saying to me, you're taking this discrimination too far. I said, no, I'm not. I said, I feel like I'm being discriminated against because, one, you misgender me. Two, you make remarks about my body and my voice and my identity. And three, you won't let me wear men's clothes. And four, you're just damn right degrading my identity. And that's why as a non-binary trans person pre-T, pre-hormones, I wish people would just be more accepting of my non-binary identity and then accept the physical changes, because I feel like I don't feel safe, I don't feel loved, I don't feel wanted, and I don't feel accepted because of my identity. And because of that feeling of being unsafe, unloved, unwanted, and unaccepted, I feel like my life isn't worth living, because being trans, I deserve acceptance, I deserve to be loved, I deserve to feel wanted, and I deserve to feel safe within my own identity. Because recording this video now is starting to upset me, because my stupid, logically impaired mother's on her way to take me to Manchester dump of an eye holder. And she's going to sit at that holder, it's going to sit at that holder, misgendering me. And I don't want that. I want to feel valued and validated within my own gender identity. But until the hospital take that horrible, discriminating F marker off my systems, off my health records, things would be better if they did that, because I'm sick of it in my notes, because every 3 years I get referred for a cervical screening. And on their computer systems, it overrides my non-binary identity with the F marker. That's what it should not be doing. Because I am trans, always will be trans. And I'll reiterate this: family, organisations, healthcare settings and companies should know better than to discriminate and misgender someone, because it's now the law under the Gender Recognition Act, the Gender Reassignment Act and the Equality Act. Because if people face direct or indirect discrimination against their identity, as a trans community, we have a right to use the hate crime system and report it. But Mum said to me, if you report me for a fucking transgender hate crime, I will disown you, and I will tell everybody in the family to disown you for doing it. But transgender people's feelings matter. Transgender hate crimes matter. If we report them, they can be stopped. Transgender hate crimes are becoming as big as Asian hate crimes. And because of that now, in America, Joe Biden's trying to correct Donald Trump's mess of banning transgender people from the country and banning them from healthcare. It's not like that over here, but healthcare systems need to change and get that horrible F marker off trans people's records. Yes, it's down as other on patient access. But I feel that on my medical records that F marker is still there. And because that F marker is still there, my mum and my doctors that I'm seeing are still fucking misgendering me on purpose, because that F marker is still there. If the F marker wasn't there, I would be a lot happier. I would feel less dysphoric. And I would have more euphoria about my identity. Because I want to feel euphoric about my identity. I want to feel happy about my transition. I want to feel less dysphoric about my body, about my voice, about my pronouns, because that's what I want. I want to feel less dysphoric about it. But the more family members misgender me and use the incorrect pronouns or my deceased name if it's my extended family, the more dysphoric I'm going to feel. And I hope they're going to get that in time, because gender discrimination is very real and it needs to be stopped. And I mean stopped now.
Stop recording.